What's up, guys? It's Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is training through and around your injuries. Well, happy Monday, everybody. Happy post-Arnold week. I hope you guys love the Bermuda shirt. Thank you to Monica and Liza for the gift. I appreciate it. So Liza is a client of mine. Monica was competing this weekend as a friend of hers from the gym. Congratulations on doing such a great job on that stage. It really looked great. Just kill it. So congratulations on that, and thank you for the shirt again, obviously. So I'm not sure if you guys knew this or not, but Bermuda is not in the Caribbean. Apparently it's us actually closer to New York. So Steve B's fun fact of the week: go look on an island for Bermuda. Just kidding. I'm gonna put it on here. All right. So let's talk about the topic at hand. Working around and through injuries, right? Very, very common thing to where we have tweaks and strains and sprains and things that kind of go wrong in our training. And that's just how it goes. That's kind of the name of the game, especially if you're a higher level athlete. The way that I really like to explain this is, here is the line of we're going to be injured, right? Here's the line of maybe where we need to train in terms of volume and intensity, whatever the case might be, to facilitate a response, right? To get stronger, to build more muscle. And so as we're untrained, this window is very, very wide, right? And as we start training, that volume, the amount of volume that we have to have, the stimulus, it gets higher and higher and higher and inches up closer to that line, right? So as you become a more advanced athlete, as you've trained longer, as you've been living this lifestyle more, it becomes much more important to make sure that we are managing fatigue and managing volume and deloads properly to make sure that we can stay healthy. And even with that, even with all the best programming, there's always inherent risk in terms of weight training, right? We are putting a stress on the body. Something can always go wrong. So we don't want to, ignore the fact as if we're going to just simply be healthy forever and that's somehow magically going to happen. Because even as me, I myself am very, very aware of this. Shit still happens sometimes, right? That's the name of the game. That's what we do. And for those of you who are wondering, I'm going to go ahead and throw the video up. I pulled a PR.
Come on, Steven, let's go.
All right, come on. Come on, get it. Let's go!
Easy.
So, really good looking deadlift. Moved real well. 15-pound all-time PR at 615 pounds in the deadlift. But, about 20 to 30 minutes later, started having some pain in my hand. Hand was really swollen the next day. Painful. Just one of those things. So I definitely sprained something there. No discoloration, not normal, I tore the shit out of it kind of things. I didn't drop the bar, I didn't have any pain during the movement. It was just an after the fact kind of thing, right? So that's what this guy's about, right? So taking care of it and addressing it as is appropriate at this point in time. But how do we work around this, right? Now, there are some things where you're not really going to be able to work around it too much. Now, I might be able to go to the gym and do like some leg extensions, some leg curls, right? Maybe do a lot of those kinds of things. Maybe some body weight stuff where I don't really have to grip with this hand. I can probably do Bulgarian split squats, those kinds of things. But for the most part, a lot of things are off the table because of this, because I simply don't want to put more strain. I don't want to put more volume onto something that's already upset, already injured, right? And that's just going to have to be how my week goes. I won't be doing jujitsu, right? I'm not going to be gripping and bracing out. I'm not going to be doing those kinds of things if this is already hurt, okay? I want to give it the appropriate time and the appropriate management to make sure that it's healing. Once it's healed, then I can go back into training, right? And then I can start doing some more of those things again. But until that point, it needs to rest, right? And there are a lot of different things that we can do. We can simply, depending on the situation, take time off from working that thing, right? So same as I've had an adductor kind of funky thing going on. That's something I can do some things to work around. Leg press does not bother it, right? We were at the Metroflex out in Worthington, which is also, by the way, a bomb-ass gym. They had a belt squat. Felt phenomenal. Deadlifts doesn't bother it, right? So there's a lot of movements that don't bother that. I can work around that, right? And even so, lighter weight movements at, for squats didn't hurt it, right? So I can do BFR movements. I can do blood flow restriction or occlusion training. Those are ways that I can work around that injury to sort of, or that tweak, right? To make sure that I'm still training, I'm not getting detrained, and I'm still making progress in the long term. So there are sometimes things that we can do to make sure that we're still, we're not going backwards, right? But there's going to be times that there are things that we can't do. There's a lot of things I can't do here. And I have a client in particular who I think has one of the more difficult ones to deal with. And so she works in a gym and she's a trainer, right? And she simply stood up doing something, knocked her head on a piece of equipment and got a concussion, right? For whatever reason, the concussion recovery took a lot longer than normal. So we're talking about 3 months. So 3 months of no real training, not any kind of activity, but a lot of brain exercise, trying to make sure nutrition is okay, and not really being able to do much, right? Very, very difficult, especially considering this person was competing on a very high level and was coming out of their show really, really well on their reverse, just fucking killing it, right? That's a hard thing, but sometimes that's what's necessary. The thing that I think that it's important to remember is as long as we're alive, nothing's ever said and done. And that's something that it's really important to take hold of and to remember in some of those trying times when we feel like we're defeated. Because it's very easy to get something like this. And then this, for me, I don't feel defeated by this, but it's an annoyance for sure. Something like the concussion, if we're out of the gym for months, we can feel defeated. Like that one hurts. That one's hard to get through. It takes a strong fucking person to get through that and get back into it and say, I'm not fucking done. We're still fucking going. Like, this is not the end for me. Like, it takes a lot of dedication and heart to do that. So, but sometimes that is what, in fact, is necessary. We have to look at our long-term health, the big picture, to get that set in stone and to get that situated before we can start going back to looking at going to the gym or maybe squatting or deadlifting, right? Not everybody's a bodybuilder. Not everybody can just go leg press and do leg extensions, right? Maybe you do strongman, maybe you do powerlifting, right? Maybe you do CrossFit. We have to do certain movements for those competitions to be ready for them. But if we're having a big long-term, long recovery window injury like that, sometimes it's best for us to really do what it takes to check that, to check our competitive spirit, to check that drive for a little while, to make sure that we're getting the injuries healed up properly, right? That's hard. That can be very hard. But I guarantee you, if we look at the long term, just as with dieting, we don't want to just look at the short term. I want to lose 20 pounds for this trip and then forget about it. And next thing you know, we've regained that 20 pounds and then some, right? We want to look at the long term and with our training and our body, our possible injuries, tweaks, whatever it might be. We want to look at the long term, right? So what I tell everybody, if you're in the gym and something feels funky and off, stop fucking doing it. Your job is to stay as healthy as possible, as long as possible. Is that always going to happen? Absolutely not. There is inherent risk of injury included within weight training, right? It is just the name of the game. However, we can manage that very, very well if, for say, we have hard numbers to hit on deadlifts. We get into deadlifts, something's off that day. We're rounding, we're feeling it in our lower back, we're extra fatigued. Lower the fucking weight. Don't deadlift if something hurts, right? Like, change the movement pattern, right? Maybe go to an RDL, maybe just go do some hamstring curls. Do something else that's going to get your body some sort of activation, some sort of stimulus for that muscle that's not going to risk injuring something, right? So that's first and foremost. And then the second one is when something is tweaked, when something is strained, sprained, be smart about how you're going to train around and or through it. Remember, the worst thing we can do is to push too hard, and then next thing you know, boom, now we're really hurt. What went from maybe a week or two to heal has now become months, right? We can deal with a couple weeks. A couple months becomes much, much harder, guys. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Please be safe out there. Be smart with your training. Stay as healthy as you can. I'll talk to you soon.